Right, hello everybody, Adam Cleary from FourFourTwo and Cole Palmer. It's a really weird intro. Yes, Cole Palmer. I like him more than he likes chippy chips. He went and got 4 goals against Brighton, which is extraordinary, and he did it all in the first half, which is extraordinary, and it's not even the first time he's got 4 goals, which is extraordinary. Now, I know you come to FourFourTwo for high-quality, in-depth, cerebral, tactical analysis, and we will absolutely be doing that. Like, this is Chelsea under Pochettino, where Cole Palmer was really, really good, and this is sort of like Chelsea under Maresca, where Cole Palmer is still really, really good, but I don't think there's ever been a player as good as Cole Palmer who was more inherently just vibes than Cole Palmer. So let's look at those. Okay, so obviously I am still a bad football nerd, so when I say vibes, what I actually mean is numbers. And Cole Palmer's numbers are not just insane or impressive, they are genuinely unprecedented. Some of the statistics he is putting up, some of the records he is breaking are genuinely up there with some of the greatest players who have ever played this game. So we're going to go through as many of them as possible right now so you can fully appreciate just what he is doing. Now, first up, you might have seen this one on Sky the other night. Jamie Carragher said he's probably the best player in the Premier League right now. It's total goal involvement, so combined goals and combined assists, which I don't think is particularly good methodology, but nonetheless, you can't argue with the output. Now, you'll see here that he is ahead of Erling Haaland, which is obviously incredibly impressive, even though you don't really associate Haaland with assists, but he's just behind Harry Kane, who is someone you do associate with sort of being involved in the build-up and creating chances for others. Now, it is, in my opinion, simply impressive enough to be sandwiched betwixt these two players, but let's just have a little think here, right? Manchester City swept all comers aside last season and scored 149 goals in all competitions because they're really, really good. And Bayern Munich, despite obviously suffering from the Harry Kane curse and not winning anything, still created 120 goals last season because they are really, really good. Now, Chelsea fans, I hope you'll permit me a pass to say this because I was really positive about you at the start of last season, and we did loads of videos about how good you were at the end of last season, but in between that, so like the bulk of the last 365 days, you were shit. Cole Palmer managed to have a season comparable to both Kane and Haaland, despite playing for a team that was like 11th or 12th at Christmas. Anyway, got a lot to get through here. Scouted FTBL put up this absolutely unbelievable little graph the other day, which shows players who've contributed to 4 or more goals in a game. Now, a couple of things to note with this. Obviously, it's just packed to the rafters with retired legends of the game. Palmer is already in their company, but of the players still playing, still active or in their prime, you've only really got Salah, who is now in the autumn of his career, has played hundreds and hundreds of games for a really, really good Liverpool side. Haaland, who is a freak of nature, playing for Freak of Nature FC, and Mbappe, who, all due respect to France, did all those in France. As Scouted FTBL very astutely points out, yeah, it's impressive that Cole Palmer's in this list, but you've got to remember, he's made 38 professional starts. Zlatan, Shearer, Lewandowski, Aguero, Kane, like these players have played hundreds of matches for some of the best teams in the world, and Newcastle, I'll make the joke for you. Cole Palmer is on this list, having had 1 full season at a very average Chelsea side. We've got a ways to go yet, but are you getting the picture now? What he is doing is not normal. Okay, time for the raw data now. This is his FB ref profile of the last 365 days, so like the entire time he's been at Chelsea, comparative to all the other attackers and attacking midfielders, so anyone who you'd see in this sort of like not a midfielder, not a forward position, and compared to all the top 5 leagues in Europe. And as someone whose job requires them to look at way too many FB ref profiles, I can tell you these are nuts. The volume of his goals, the volume of his assists, the volume of shots he gets away, the conversion rate of those shots, like all of these are in the very, very top brackets of all players in Europe. Even the one stat that might jump out at you as being bad here, his average shot distance, like clearly he shoots from loads further away than most other players in his position, that just makes all the other numbers that much more impressive. Because if most of his shots are coming from this area, as opposed to, say, this area, that means the chances that his teammates are creating are not as good. And yet, he is scoring lots and lots of goals. And to address the one criticism his output does tend to get, which is, well, if it wasn't for all those penalties, the numbers wouldn't look as good. This has columns for non-penalty contributions only. The 96th percentile, the top 4% in Europe for non-penalty goals and non-penalty XG. But this one here, this is the really big one though. This is the one stat you have to look for when appraising somebody's goal-scoring ability. Goals and non-penalty goals minus their respective XGs. Now I know, usual XG disclaimer, not a lot of people like that as a stat, like it's just imaginary, it doesn't really do anything, but this still remains the best statistical measure we have of someone's clinicity? Is that a word? Finishing? Like, how good are they at taking the chance versus how good was the chance? So if you take the made-up imaginary nerd number for the goals he should score and you minus it from the actual goals you should score, you should get 0. So then if you get a negative number, that means you're not getting as many goals as the chances say you should be getting, so you're not a very good finisher. But if you get a positive number, that means you're getting more goals than the chances say you should get, so you are a good finisher. And Cole Palmer is in the top 5% for that measure, which means he's in the top 5% of finishers in Europe. Or just to explain how those numbers translate into real football, right? Plus 0.2 per 90 means that over 5 games, pretty much exactly, Cole Palmer will give you the equivalent of 1 goal out of absolutely nothing. So yes, the numbers say he is a wonderful, wonderful finisher, but he's not even just a finisher, is he? All of his assist stats are amazing. He sees absolutely loads of the ball in possession, so he's making loads of passes. But the main stat here, progressive passes, it isn't just possession for possession's sake, is it? He's constantly trying to move the ball forward. And this is my favourite one, right? 99 percentile for through balls. You can click on it on the FBref website. He is top of that stat. No other attacker in Europe splits the defence, sees more than Cole Palmer did over the last 365 days. He's got the weapons, he's got the vision, he can kill you any way he wants to. Sorry, okay, I'll calm down now. The best thing about this, right, is that even his bad stats are actually good stats. These are his defensive numbers, right? They're really low and red, so they suck, obviously. Cole Palmer, he can't be pressing. Like, he's one of the worst attacking midfielders in Europe for going and getting the ball back, right? Well, yes, in terms of the sheer volume of it, but if we just move this graph over here and we put it next to his goal-creating and shot-creating action stats, strange mismatch. While his numbers of tackles and combined tackles and interceptions and tackles in the attacking third are really low, they then translate to some of the highest numbers in terms of goal and shot-creating actions as the result of a defensive contribution. Like, don't get me wrong, you watched him play for Pochettino, you watch him play for Maresca. Now, he is an effective part of a high press. He doesn't shirk the effort. He's always part of a good, coordinated, off-the-ball strategy, but he doesn't go careering around constantly throwing in challenges and trying to win the ball back. He commits to doing that only when he senses an opportunity to really make something happen. And these two numbers in real terms might seem incredibly small, but that just speaks to how hard this whole high pressing thing is to do. Like, Palmer might only create a good chance for a teammate from winning the ball back every 4, 5, or 6 games or something like that, but that still puts him in the top 5% for doing that in Europe. Like, what a weapon. And I mean, hey, while we're still here, goal creating actions, brackets, live ball, that's how many goals do you create just in open play, so not set pieces, not from specific things, just when you've got the ball, how many goals do you create per 90 minutes? Palmer is second in all of Europe behind, weirdly, Thomas Muller, who isn't bad. Yes, that's your maths lesson over. Those are all of Cole Palmer's numbers and why they make my brain dribble out the side of my ears every time I think about them. But how does he do that? Well, this is his seasonal heat map. I'll get rid of my coffee, sorry, 2 seconds. This is his seasonal heat map from last season, and you will see 'tis neither one thing nor t'other. Cole Palmer's favourite place in the whole world, besides his own sofa with his PlayStation controller in his hand, is this half space here. And that's why he's so comfortable playing either as a 10, as he has been under Maresca, or as part of a sort of, how can I not do this anymore, a wide 3 under Pochettino, because both of these roles give him access to this area. Either wide right, where he can drift inside, play here, and allow a fullback to sort of take up all that width there, or, confusing myself by doing this, that's him playing as a 10, and then sort of drifting out to here to allow whoever this is to attack the box. That's none of my business. And the thing is, it's incredibly hard to defend players who want to be in that half space, because if he's the 10 and he's floating across, then either you've got to put a defensive midfielder on him who does not want to be getting dragged that far out of the centre, or a centre-back has to step up who again doesn't want to be getting dragged that far out of the centre, or you've got to pull a fullback across who will then not be able to attack down the flank. So it causes all kinds of consideration issues. And likewise, if he's starting out on the right and moving into that, the fullback still doesn't want to be getting dragged in there. The centre-back will keep an eye on him, but has to recognise when he's not there and when he is, and that distracts from everything else that's going on. It's a really difficult thing to correctly organise. You normally have to set up an entirely different system, usually with a back 3, just to kind of deal with that. But why, Adam, I'd hear you ask, why does Cole Palmer like being in that position so much? Why doesn't he want to be in the box or like attacking wide? What is it about that he really likes? And the answer, my friend, thank you so much for asking, is incredibly simple. You see, when you combine all the things you can do in this area of the pitch with Cole Palmer's specific skill set, his options on the ball are innumerable. Innumerable. Lots. I mean, first off, obviously, he's got an absolute wand of a left foot, and if he can drop the shoulder and go around to the left of a defender, he's got a great angle to get shots away from. In fact, I saw a fantastic graph on The Athletic, thank you, The Athletic, of his shot placement for all his goals last season. Like, he hits the bottom corner of the net with unerring accuracy. He virtually never shoots high, he never lets a wild one go. He picks his spot, even from distance. Remember, we saw his average shot distance on that graph, and he finds it. But also, because he's very two-footed and defenders kind of know he wants to go that way, he's also capable of just going around the outside of them into this area and crossing and creating with his right. Another major advantage of being in this part of the pitch is that if a centre-back comes out to deal with them, then usually the other centre-back is tied up with Nicholas Jackson, the full-back is dealing with whoever's on the right-hand side for Chelsea. It means that the area directly behind them is just open. Palmer's got more than enough dribbling skills, more than enough tricks in his locker that he can just go past whoever's in front of them. He loves putting it through their legs, and from there, world's his oyster. But what he really likes to do, Cole Palmer, is not actually go past a player. Like, his favourite thing, the thing I like watching him do the most, is just scaring them. And he forces them back and back and back and creates a lot of room for himself. And his vision to recognise either runs from the centre forward, the player on the other side arriving late into the box, and with his left foot to pick out either sort of a slide or a cross ball into this area is incredible. Like, a lot of people love to make jokes about Cole Palmer that there's not one single thought going on between those ears besides football.
What?
But I would argue, if you look at his vision on a football pitch, that might be true, but the level to which he can process and think about football is way beyond anybody. The guy might have one of the biggest brains in Britain. It's just that he's dedicated 200% of his processing power to the art of football, which is why when you look at him in the eyes, you sort of imagine an oompa band gently playing. And of course, when you've got such a big footballing brain at your disposal, you can have quite a lot of fun with that. Like, we're going to do a full proper video on Maresca's Chelsea and how he's changing them and adapting them, and they're doing so well this season. That is in the works, I promise. But as far as it concerns Palmer, he's being used, how can I put this? Very versatilely. Like, I'll just take you on a little adventure here, right? This is his seasonal heat map from last season. You've already seen that. Now let's run that on into his seasonal heat map from this season. And despite the fact he's now starting as a 10, as opposed to on the right-hand side, you'll see still doing most of his work in this wide area and in this half space. But then, weirder still, you take that and you just use the heat map from the Brighton game where he scored 4 goals, and you'd think, actually, that's a right wing back. And it looks like that because Maresca has developed this team to be able to do a number of different things depending on the opposition. Now, Brighton really wanted to press them high, and they were really happy to try and play through that press. Now, they did concede 2 goals doing that, which obviously isn't great, but they also, when they did get through them, they ran amok. And the way they did this was they take the 3 that they like to start in the middle, and then sometimes they just sort of rotate them round a bit to get into different areas of the opposition's press. Like now, Caicedo is sort of a single pivot. He can get between those first 2 areas, and then you've got Enzo and Palmer, who are now in that sort of second line of the press. So you can go many different ways. And that's reflected in their average positions from that, because while Cole Palmer is sort of like floating around Jackson, being a very attacking player, you can still draw that rotated triangle around Caicedo, Enzo, and him. But yes, anyway, as I say, we will cover that in far more depth in our Look How Good Enzo Maresca's Chelsea Is video, which we will do in the very near future. It's just, I've seen the messages, Chelsea fans, I've seen the comments, and I've seen the tweets, and you're right, we have not covered you guys at all enough lately. You've been really, really good, and we haven't done a video on why yet, and I ought to explain. We don't get to be in this room as often as we would like to be in this room, so the videos we have done have sort of had to line up with when we can get in, and Chelsea just weirdly haven't yet, and also, I did not see the faces of my friends or loved ones across the summer because of the Euros and because of transfers, and that made them sad, some of them, so I am just, I'm doing my best. But we will do it, and we will do it soon, and you've got Liverpool after the international break on the 20th, I think, so if you win that, we'll do it all over again, and if you get stuffed, then you'll at least get a mention. So if you would like to see that or any of the videos we do, please do consider subscribing to us here on FourFourTwo. This is the fun channel where the tactics are fun, and Cole Palmer is also fun, and I am fun. Adam Cleary, you can get me on all the fun websites, not those ones, at Adam Cleary, C-L-E-R-Y. The 442 socials, that's fun too. They're in the corner of the video. The latest issue of the magazine, what fun that is. It's just a floating image of a tier for you since I forgot to bring it in. And until next time, when more fun will happen, I am away to do some fun. This has gotten out of control, and I will see you soon. Bye.